Welcome to the weekly Forex video. My name is Chris, and today, of course, basically looking at the euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, but of course we have new monthly candles to look at, so let's do that in just a second. First of all, though, be aware that this video is shown to a global audience but may not be suitable for everyone. Please visit admiralmarketsglobal.com, select your country of residence, and contact the appropriate entity to find out if it is suitable for you. And also the risk disclaimer, please note that trading forex exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. By continuing watching this video, you agree with this disclaimer and you are aware of the risk involved when trading. Of course, at the euro dollar, and this is the Admiral Markets template that I'm using here, as you can see, and basically looking at a retracement in the euro dollar. And you can see the price is challenging the Keltner, which is part of the MT4 Supreme Edition, by the way, and you can try that out by going to admiralmarkets.com and downloading that platform. But basically, 61.8 fib, 117.60 is, I think, a potential bouncing spot, as well as the 78.6 fib. So I'm curious how price will respond in this potential support zone. And what I'm basically looking at is a potential for price to bounce back up to test the minus 61.8 target and the R1 around 119, 119.25. But the question is, will I see bullish candlestick patterns in this zone that will allow me to take that trade? If I don't see those patterns, if I don't see those bullish reactions, I will not take the trade, because in this case, price might break through those levels and continue with the downtrend. Basically, of course, we had a break of this trend line, so there was a good breakout trade from here to here for a few pips. But now I think that price is in the support zone because of the fact that if you look at the higher time frames, such as the daily chart, and you put a fib from the bottom to the top, that price is at an important 23.6 fib, and there's a bottom, of course, on the left, plus the let's see, 117.50 level. So I think, and there was some reaction to, of course, this 23.6 fib right here, 2 bullish days. Plus, of course, if you look at the trend, it is still up, although we're having a channel to the downside. So, it depends on what time frame you define the trend. On this daily chart, I would consider it still an uptrend because price is clearly above the long-term moving average. But on a 4-hour chart, certainly there is, of course, this channel that we can see like this, and price is indeed making kind of a downward motion. So, got to be careful with this one. But if price does break through the support, right, then there could be a breakout to the downside. And I think in that case, price will retest the 38.2 fib at 115. So there could be this kind of bearish space available. So what I'm looking for then is a good bearish breakout candle, basically below the S1. And I'll be looking for a bit of a pullback perhaps, and then a move down to the S3 eventually this week, later this week. Maybe even next week, right? It doesn't have to reach 115 in 1 week, but that's the space available for the downside. So this week's target, more conservative target, could be the S2 at 116. Next week maybe S3 and 115. So that could be the scenario for the downside. The upside, if price does not break through this bottom at 117.10, I think it is 15, and it does bounce, right? So what I would like to see in that case is some bullish engulfing twins, for instance, here on the 4-hour chart or 1-hour chart. Something to show me that price is indeed reacting to that zone that I expect is important, but let's see if the market agrees. And if it does, I'll be looking, as I said, for a move up to the top of that channel, basically, and the minus 61.8 target, when I put a fib like this from here to here, right? The R1 and the top of the channel. So there's a lot of resistance there. And that could be the target for the upside. Then it depends how price will respond in this zone. That's a different question. If we see bearish engulfing twins, right, that could be still actually a turn for a big move down to 115. However, if we get a big break, right, if price has bullish candlestick patterns on the 4-hour chart that push through 119, then there could actually be a bigger uptrend continuation, right, up to R2 and even R3. And this uptrend would then be back into scope, right? So this is the breakout territory for an uptrend continuation. We'll be keeping an eye on this euro dollar, of course, throughout basically the webinars we have this week. Then we'll have a session recap, of course, on Monday, together with, and then we will have webinars on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Wednesday, in fact, looking at the euro dollar and other currency pairs and instruments, of course, as well. And then Thursday, we take a look at practical channel trading. So that's coming up, an educational webinar on using channels on the charts. Now, with regard to the euro, to the pound dollar, excuse me, basically, we're seeing I think, looking like almost a descending wedge at this moment, right? Or triangle. So price is about to break that triangle, perhaps. I don't know, it's trying to. If it does break below that triangle and does break below this bottom at around 133.40-ish, that could be a bearish breakout. And in that case, right, there could be a push down to the S1 and the long-term moving average and the quarter level around 132.50, I would suspect. Plus, if we put a fib from here to here, like this, all right, you see that price basically stopped at the 23.6 fib, stopped at the 38.2 fib, so eventually it might even fall further than the S1 all the way to the 50 fib, all right? So the pivot points do not align themselves that nicely with the Fibonacci levels, okay? So that's untypical, but sometimes happens. So S1 could be a stopping spot. Ultimately, though, I would expect price to get down to the 50 fib, which is indeed that quarter level I talked about as well. So looking basically for an hour, 4-hour breakout pattern or pullback and continuation down to 132.50, which in turn could be a bouncing spot again because of the 50 fib. All right. Now, if price does, for whatever reason, turn here and bounce, then I will be looking for a break above this resistance trend line. The break of that, or we can even expand this line like this, the break of that would then, from my point of view, also the break of the pivot point, give an opportunity to trade with the trend again, the larger trend at least, to the R1 and then up to the R2 perhaps, and then even R3, right? The main target of that upside is even the -272 target. Doesn't have to get reached this week though, because that would require a very big movement. So probably later this month. We got a whole month, of course, to look at. Don't forget to take a look at those monthly candles, in fact, on all the currency pairs that you trade. The euro dollar had a bearish candle, by the way, but did have a lot of indecision, I would say, on both sides, right? Wick. So two not so decisive candles. But that bearish tone of last month is something to keep in mind, though, that could create a bigger correction eventually down to 115. So that's why I'm leaning slightly towards a bigger correction of 115 rather than an uptrend continuation. Part of that reason is this monthly candle. So that's something to look at. So pound dollar is more or less the same. It's this game between the fibs. Will it bounce and revert back into uptrend, or will it still retrace deeper? The dollar yen. All right, two breakouts here of these trend lines, as you can see, and has still some space before we run into bigger resistance up in here around 114.50 and 115. As you can see, there's kind of a resistance zone with all these tops in here. Let me move this mini terminal just a slightly lower so you can see that better. This also part of the MetaTrader 4 Supreme Edition, by the way. So there's still some space for the dollar yen to move to that upside, and it has actually broken a smaller flag, not a 4-hour flag perhaps, but maybe this 1-hour resistance trend line like this, as you can see. So, but I think that it is a bit difficult spot because of this resistance trend line as well. So it is not an easy kind of situation right now, but I think if price manages to reach the R1, maybe break a little bit above it, make a bull flag, then I would be interested in trading it further up towards the 114.50, 115 zone. So I would like to trade it basically above R1 up to R2, right? And R3, right? But this zone is already getting more difficult because of resistance. So ideally, break of R1, hook back up to R2 / the resistance zone. All right, don't forget to check out admiralmarkets.com for the MetaTrader 4 Supreme Edition, our analytics and webinars, and wish you all great trading. Cheers.